Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And today is a True Crime Corner video. I know it feels like forever since I've done one. Let me tell you something. I feel like it's been forever. I know that much. Um, I almost forgot to sit down and record this morning because that's the 2 week vacation that I had with the kids. Yeah, that did me in. So, I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope everyone is having a great day or start to the day. Um, but we're going to get started. I was lost in thought there. Sorry. We are going to talk about Scott Peterson. Now, I remember this case. I remember seeing it on the news. And those of you that remember, we know who he is. There's a lot of things I didn't know, even though I did watch it on the news. And so we're going to get into that. Also, just to make sure that you are aware, it is not the kid. There is a case similar to this that Drew Peterson, but he has no relation. And so we're going to get started. I'm going to start with his early life and then his marriage to Lacey, and then we're just going to go on from there. Scott Peterson was born October the 24th, 1972, in San Diego, California, and he was born to Lee Arthur Peterson, who was a businessman that owned a crate packing company, and then to his mother, Jackie Helen Latham, and she owned a boutique in La Jolla called The Put On. Now, Lee and Jackie had six children from previous relationships. Scott was their only child of, or Scott was their only child that they had together. He shared a bedroom with his half brother John in the family's 2 bedroom apartment. Now, Scott began to play golf at an early age, and he spent a lot of time with his father. By age 14, I know you're all going to be like, why are we talking about something that's so boring? There's a reason. Now, at age 14, he could beat his father at golf for a time. You know, he had dreams of becoming a professional golfer, and then he ended up going to the University of Arizona in 1990, and now he wanted to be a professional golfer like Phil Mickelson, and that is so he went to University State University State Arizona University, where Mickelson had also enrolled on a partial golf scholarship. Mickelson would become a highly successful PGA golfer, and Peterson wanted to basically be, like Mickelson and become a PGA golfer. Um, excuse me. Now, let's see. Now there was a reporter from the Broward County, Florida Sun Sentinel that eventually reported that Chip Couch had said that Peterson got kicked off the golf team. He had stated that Peterson had taken Chris out drinking to meet girls, and then resulting in a hangover for Chris. Chris was the #1 junior in the country. Chip didn't want Peterson to threaten his son's future, and he complained to the golf coach, who then kicked Peterson off the team. So it seems to me like, Scott kind of had a little wild streak to begin with when, I'm assuming, I mean, I'm not going to say, it was criminal, but he was, he kind of had that attitude of, I don't care. But then again, you got to think about it too. All college, some college, uh, some, people that went to college were like that. But, I don't know because I was never in college. So, now, Scott Peterson then transfers to another college, uh, Kiesta College in San Luis Obispo, and later California Polytechnic, where he then initially planned to study international business. But then he changed it to agriculture business, which would later help him in the long run because, as you guys may remember, he was a fertilizer salesman or something like that. He Now, while he was at California Polytechnic, he worked at a restaurant called Morro Bay, and he then one of his co-workers would receive visits from a neighbor named Lacey Denise Roca, who did attend Cal Poly as an ornamental horticulture major. Okay, whatever that means. Now, when Scott and his wife first met, in 1994, Lacey made the first move. She's the one that made the first move into the relationship, and sending him her phone number immediately. Then, Lacey told her mother that she had met the man that she would marry. Peterson later called Lacey and they began dating, and their first date being deep sea fishing, in which Lacey did get seasick. Now, their relationship grew more serious, and he put aside his dreams of being um, a professional golf in order to focus on a business career. The couple dated for 2 years, then they moved in together. And in 1997, Lacey graduated. They married at Sycamore Mineral Springs Resort in San Luis Obispo County of Villa Valley. Now, like I said, I'll probably butcher that name. When he finished his senior year, Lacey took a job in nearby Prunedale. Um, Now, apparently, during all of this, it is believed that he was having affairs even though he was dating her, and then while he was married to her, while he right when they first got married. So it sounds to me like he just didn't really care about his marriage to begin with, or care about his relationship with Lacey to begin with. Now, just my opinion. So after their graduation, um, the Petersons opened a sports bar. Now, see, I did not know. I did not know that they had opened a sports bar. I had no idea. Um, that is something I did not know, and it was called the Shack. Um, Now, the Scott's parents loaned him the money for this. Contrary to what was being said, that there were rumors going that I don't know that he did it himself, but his parents did loan him the money for this. Um, see, they believe they didn't, but his parents did say that they did not, because they believed it was a bad investment. So obviously, that he opened this regardless. Now, um, when the couple had difficulty finding a technician, they to install a vent that was needed in the restaurant, Peterson then took it upon himself to take the necessary certification course to install it himself. Business was slow, but it eventually approved, especially on the weekends. They then sold the shack in 2000 when they moved to Lacey's hometown of Modesto to start a family. Now, this is where I get a little confused because, as we know, um, you know, there's been, basically conflicting reports that he didn't want the baby. But yet, he's willing to move to Modesto to start a family and so forth. Which to me, okay, if that, and yet he's having, extramarital affairs with all these people. So now Lacey takes a part time job as a substitute teacher, and Peterson gets a job in or at with Trade Corp USA, which is a subsidiary of a European fertilizer company. Mm. Bear with me, I'm not fully awake. Now, according to Lee Peterson, the Spanish company was trying to establish a customer base in the United States, and they hired Scott as their West Coast representative. Okay. So he worked on salary plus commission. He sold irrigation systems, fertilizers, that kind of thing. And to, big farms, flower growers, primarily in California, Arizona, and New Mexico. Excuse me. He, earned a great deal of money from this. Lacey's loved ones, including her mother, stated that she worked enthusiastically at being the perfect housewife. She enjoyed cooking and entertaining, and that she and her family welcomed the news that she was pregnant in 2002. Now, in November of 2002, Lacey was 7 months pregnant. Peterson was then introduced to a woman, to a massage therapist, which, as we know, was Amber Frey. And in later statements, she then does tell, authorities that, he told her that he was single, that he was never married, so forth, blah, 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 blah. As we all know, we've heard the recorded phone calls. There's been recorded phone calls all this time. So, the last time that Peterson's parents saw Lacey was during a 3-day weekend which they spent together in Carmel, California. And that was the week before Christmas. So now I kind of gave you a background on that. I know it's probably all confusing and boring. I'm just trying to, there's a lot of things I didn't know, and I was reading this and it was kind of, now December the 23rd of 2002, at 5:45, Lacey went to Salon, which is where her sister Amy worked, and for a monthly scheduled haircut. And as they spoke, Roca, said that Peterson offered to pick up a fruit basket that had been ordered for her grandfather as a Christmas gift that they were going to give him the next day because he would be playing golf at a course nearby. And so But then there are other reports stating that he also told other people that he would be playing golf on the day of Christmas Eve. So you got to see that there's two different, if I'm making any sense to you guys. There's two different things. He's telling people something else. He's telling, his sister-in-law something else, and then he's telling other people something else. Now, that same night, Sharon, Lacey's mother, spoke with Lacey on the telephone at 8:30 p.m. So that's the last time anybody heard from her, was 8:30. Peterson later told the police that he last saw his wife at 9:30 a.m. on December the 24th. So, or excuse me, no, the last time anybody saw her was 9 a.m. Now, mind you, you got to realize her parents spoke to her, her mother spoke to her at 8:30 p.m. the following night, or the night before. In between all of that, granted, Sharon, her mother, is the last person to speak with her. But yet, Scott Peterson is saying that he last saw his wife at 9:30 a.m. So what happened between that 13-hour window? See what I'm saying? Now, when he told the police that he saw his wife at 9:30 a.m. on December the 24th when he left to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina. And he said that Lacey was watching a cooking television show but was preparing to mop the floor, bake cookies, and walk the family dog at a nearby park. Now, later that morning, a female neighbor of the Petersons says that she found the dog named Mackenzie and returned him to the Petersons' backyard at between 10:10 and 10:17. An hour and a half later, at 10:45 a.m., another neighbor named Mike Chavetta said he found Mackenzie wandering the neighborhood with a muddy leash and also returned him to the Petersons' yard. The Petersons said he returned home that afternoon to find it, or Scott Peterson returned home that afternoon to find the yard empty. He found Mackenzie in the backyard. Lacey's 1996 Land Rover Discovery was in the driveway, and he showered, washed his clothes because he was wet from fishing. Now, mind you, my first thing is, now, I just don't know about anybody else, okay? If you come home from fishing, regardless of what you smell, whatever, and you can't find your wife, but yet her car is in the driveway, would you go take a shower? Or would you go searching for her? See, this is what I don't understand. What was in his mind when he decides to take a shower? He doesn't report her missing right away, from what it sounds like. He waits until 5:15 p.m. to report her missing. Okay, there are signs, okay? Her car is still there. She's not there. There's no kind of note or any kind of anything to say, oh, I'm not going to be home. Mind you, she's 7 months pregnant. I would be a little worried. Peterson called his mother-in-law at 5:15, and that a half an hour later, Lacey's stepfather, Ron Gransky, did call the police. Now, see, this is where I'm sorry. I really don't understand why, Scott, but then again, as we all know, he was just covering his tracks. He called the police. Then, that Lacey, that he was the call was Lacey was 7 months pregnant with a due date of February the 10th of 2003. The couple had planned to name the baby Connor. The exact date and cause of Lacey's death was never determined. Lacey was reported missing on Christmas Eve. And the story attracted nationwide media interest. So, see, this is where where I'm confused. Okay? The last time anybody spoke to her or even saw her was December the 23rd. Scott waits until 5:15 p.m. on Christmas Eve, even after he'd come home at 10 something in the morning, knowing that she's not there. And he takes a shower and he waits until 5:15 p.m. to call his father, his in-laws, and then they call the police. He doesn't. See, that's what I don't understand. I have a really, really serious issue with this. This whole entire thing. It just makes no sense to me. Why why, her stepfather has to make the phone call. Scott Peterson is the one that was married to her. He's the next of kin. Why didn't he make the phone call? Which, we'll never know. Now there were two detectives that responded to the call. And John Bueller and Alan Brochini, again, I'm going to butcher the name. When they arrived at the Peterson home, Lacey's keys, wallet, and sunglasses were found in her purse in a closet. Okay, I don't know about any other woman. I know for a fact that, when my purse and all that kind of stuff, cell phone, whatever, I don't leave that kind of stuff in a closet. It's hanging on a chair by my desk. This, like I said, I could get into this, but I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm gonna behave myself. The dining room table was set for a family dinner. One of the detectives found a phone book, and they opened it up. There was a full-page ad for a defense lawyer. When the detectives asked Peterson about this, they found him to be very, very calm, despite, her family distraught reaction to her disappearance. Now, they find it suspicious. They find, that his calm demeanor is very, very suspicious, and, describing as a strange combination of being polite and arrogant, disaffectedly distant, impatiently irritable, and he just didn't seem like a man who was crushed or, even disturbed by his wife's disappearance. So, all I can say was this guy's a piece of work. Now, the detective Bueller says on ABC News, and I will quote, "I suspected Scott when I first met him. Didn't mean he did it, but I was a little thrown off by his calm, cool demeanor and his lack of questioning. He wasn't. Will you call me back? Can I have one of your cards? What are you guys doing now?" He never... See, that would bother me. I know people react differently to, all kinds of, situations. But that would really, really bother me. Especially if, he doesn't seem really, really concerned. by this at all. He's not upset. He's not crying. He's not, flipping out. Again, this would totally bother me. Um, Now, he said that he spent the day golfing, but he had told the police later that he had gone to fish for sturgeon at the Berkeley Marina. Now, at 2:15, he leaves a message for Lacey, telling her that, it's 2:15, I'm leaving Berkeley, and, you know, and he stated that he went fishing about 90 miles from the couple's Modesto home, and then that, I guess, that really caused them to decide to launch a search, because I will tell you, from watching and listening to some of the stuff, the news reports, and some of the things, interviews that he's done, I just don't understand. I really don't. I just don't understand how this man couldn't care less. It just, Now, even though there were inconsistencies in his statement that led them to, suspect foul play, they did not treat the case as suspicious the first few hours after, she was reported missing. During the period that he was, that she was, missing, and the way that the investigation started, Lacey's parents were very, very, um, they defended him, and, they were very adamant in their defense of him, and they even the public perception, was the same way. So now, as they continued to investigate, they did eventually become more suspicious of Peterson. On the 17th of January of 2003, it became known that he had engaged in 2 other extramarital affairs that were prior to Amber Frey. So I'm really trying, and I'm not saying, okay, whatever, never mind. My thing is, you marry somebody, why would you go and have 2 other affairs while you're married to somebody, and now she's pregnant? Your wife is pregnant, and it makes no sense. Of course, I'm not one to talk, but anyway. Now, Amber did approach the police about Peterson, and because, he had denied that he was having the affair. Now, she had approached the police and told the detectives that she had met him on November the 20th, and that he had told her that he was single right off the bat. And after, they had become dating, she did, suspect that he was married. She confronted him on December the 9th, and, quote, he said he lost his wife. This would be the first holiday he was without his wife. So, did he plan this beforehand? Now, mind you, if he did, knowing that she's pregnant, of course, as we all know, it does come out that, he did plan it. But my thing is, I'm sorry. At a press conference on January the 24th, the Rocha family publicly withdrew their support of Scott, explaining that they did this upon learning of his affair with Amber, in particular upon seeing photos of Peterson and Amber together. Lacey's brother Brent Rocha stated that although Peterson had admitted to an affair a year earlier in a January 16 phone call following Lacey's disappearance, Peterson has ceased communicating with the family in regard to what happened to her. So obviously, he was trying to distance himself, I guess, because, I mean, to be truthful, did he really think he was going to get away with it? I mean, that's my opinion. That's my question. Did he really think that he was going to get away with this? I mean, I can just remember there are things that he did that I guess kind of gave himself away. That's what I'm trying to understand. Is what did he think was going to happen? I mean, hello. Now, of course, the family did say that later on they were angered not by the affair, but by the fact that Peterson had told Frey that he lost his wife on December the 9th, 14 days before she disappeared, and that he would be spending his first Christmas without her. Now, the police did speculate that whether this was an indication that Peterson had already decided to kill her, which Sharon agreed that was a possibility. Frey did allow the detectives to record her conversations with him. And I listened. I don't have, but I did on another podcast that I was listening to that talked about this. You do hear some of the conversations, and let me tell you something. This dude was very arrogant, and he did not give a crap whatsoever. He was always trying to talk his way out of the situation. Now they, the reason that they wanted to record her conversations was in case, with the hopes that he would just confess to her, and so that they could get it on tape. Now they do use the recordings. Now that the recordings reveal that in the days after Lacey went missing, Peterson told Amber Frey, that he had traveled to Paris to celebrate the holidays in part with his new companions, Pascal and Francois. Now, in reality, he had made one of these phone calls minutes before attending a New Year's Eve's candlelight vigil for Lacey. So as you can see, he just, yeah. Now, which I think is just totally, okay, so now we're going to get into where they discover her body. Recovery of her body. Now, I'm going to tell you, I did not know she was pregnant at that time. When all of this was on the news, I did not know that she was pregnant until, later on. And, I was really... this whole thing just made me sick to my stomach, because I can remember I was like, are you like really serious right now? Because my first thought is, Why, what would possess you to kill your wife, and especially while she's pregnant? And I still to this day don't understand this. Why would he do this? 7 months, she's 7 months pregnant, and, it's a boy, and it makes no sense to me. On April 13th, a couple, or 2003, a couple that was walking their dog found the decomposing body of a small baby in a marshy area of the San Francisco Bay. Now, I don't know how far away this is from where they lived. I'm still, I didn't look this up. I didn't even bother. I apologize. This year, I promise to get better with researching this kind of stuff. Now, um, in a local park that was north of Berkeley, its umbilical cord was still attached. A judge sealed the autopsy reports, but there was an anonymous Associated Press source that revealed that 1.5 loops of nylon tape were found around the fetus's neck, and a significant cut was on the fetus's body. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm totally, I don't, again, I'm not, I don't know what that means. But anyway, so now one day later, a passerby found the torso of a recently pregnant woman wearing beige pants and a maternity bra on the eastern shore of the bay, 1 mile from where the baby's body was found. So the corpse was decomposed to the point of being almost recognizable as a human body, since the head and arms and most of the body, mostly it was all, most of it was missing. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to get into detail. I was reading that and I was like, ew. On April the 18th, there were DNA tests that verified the bodies were Lacey and her son Connor. There were autopsies on both, and according to the autopsy, Connor's skin was not decomposed at all. The right side of his face, though, was mutilated, and the placenta and the umbilical cord were not found with the body. Lacey's cervix was intact. The exact date and the cause of Lacey's death was never determined. And she suffered 2 cracked ribs, but Dr. Peterson, which is no relation, could not determine if this had occurred before or after her death. So they have no clue whether or not her ribs were broken before or after. So, I'm sorry, but this is just, sad, and I'm not trying to depress people today. Now, this is what I'm trying to understand, if Scott did this part. Now, I don't know, because again, it's been a while since I have heard anything about this case. So, please don't quote me on any of this, because again, I have really have no clue. Bear with me a minute, because my diamond painting doesn't want to stay still. So her upper torso had been empty of internal organs except for her uterus. So my question is that due to decomposition? Or I don't understand. I will never. That's just and I'm not trying to gross anybody out. Um, Now, the discovery of the bodies created a great sense of urgency for the two detectives who eventually put a tracker on Scott's car. And knowing that he was in San Diego, they feared that he would eventually or try to escape to Mexico. So, yeah. Um, Now, in 2017, Borshini says, and I quote, "I just thought, we got to find Scott right now. He told me he was there, and that's where the bodies come up. I mean, I believe it was premeditated. He planned it. San Diego was pretty darn close to the Mexican border. Scott knew the area pretty well. That's where his parents lived. That's where he lived. So it wasn't like he was going to have to get on MapQuest to try and figure out a way to get to Tijuana." End quote. So my thing is, did he? My whole thing is, okay, when Scott told them where he was and where he had been fishing, did he do this in his own way of confessing? Or did he just come out and tell people where he was thinking, oh, they're never going to find her and they're never going to find the baby? See, that's what I don't understand. And that's one thing I'm trying to really, truly understand is, you know, what was his purpose of basically coming out and telling everybody, oh, this is where I went fishing, and yet that's where they find her and find the baby? I will never understand. Now, the FBI did search his home, and they find a pair of pliers that were found in his fishing boat that had her hair on the pliers. They also find they go to search the bay, and they go to locate two handmade anchors that they believed was to weigh down her body, but they don't find them. So as a result of all this, now, okay, in his own way, he basically admitted, okay, this is where they are. They go and find her and the baby. Well, they don't, but somebody else does. And then, like I said, this is one case I'm totally confused. Now, he was arrested in April 18th on 2003 near a La Jolla golf course. He told the police that he was meeting his father and brother for a game of golf. His naturally dark brown hair had been dyed blonde. What does that tell you? Why would he dye his hair blonde when he knows that he's for a police investigation? The number one suspect in a police investigation for the murder of his wife and unborn child, and he goes and dyes his hair blonde? And then he goes to La Jolla and plays golf? Seriously? Okay. Um Now, this is what I found was funny, okay? He had his Mercedes, of course, now he dyed his hair blonde, and his Mercedes Benz was overstuffed with miscellaneous items, okay? Now, this is where I think it's funny, including nearly $15,000 in cash, 12 Viagra tablets, survival gear, camping equipment, several changes of clothes, 4 cell phones, and his brother's driver's license, in addition to his own. Okay, first of all, what does he need the Viagra for? He's not old. He doesn't have a problem. That stumped me. Okay. Now, Peterson's dad explains that, Scott used his brother's license the day before to get a San Diego resident discount at the golf course, and that Peterson had been living out of his car. And because of the media attention. Now, the police suspect that the items were indication that Peterson was going to flee to Mexico. Okay, you're going to flee to, now this, I'm sorry, but no offense to anybody that has to take this, but why would you flee to Mexico with Viagra? What are you going to do with Viagra in Mexico? I can guess, especially for somebody that doesn't need it. Okay. Now, they do, he's arraigned, and on April 21st, he's charged with 2 felony count murders of premeditation and special circumstances. The first one, first degree murder of Lacey, and the second degree murder of Connor. He pled not guilty and was held without bail. I'm I'm so confused. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm confused, but I'm trying to understand. How he thinks. Pleading not guilty is going to get him out of this. I know a lot of people that get arrested that have committed a crime. Yes, they do plead not guilty. But when you got all this evidence to prove that he did this, I don't understand why he would still try to plead not guilty. I mean, I truly don't remember. If there was, I don't remember any other reason of reasonable doubt. I just. Okay. Now his trial begins on January or June 24th or June 1st, excuse me. And now mind you, there was a change of venue from the trial from Modesto to Redwood City. And because, he was a victim of increasing hostility in Modesto, which, I can't say I totally blame um the you know that's totally understandable. But then again, whatever. Um, and of course, as you all know, it was followed on the news. Now, he claims that his attorney claims that Peterson was a cad for cheating on Lacey, but he was not a murderer. Then the prosecution witness Amber Frey hired her own attorney to represent her, and he was not bound by the gag order imposed, although she maintained that her client had no opinion about whether Scott was guilty or innocent. And Alfred was openly sympathetic to the prosecution. The prosecutors claimed that Peterson made the cement weights and to weigh his wife's body down. However, none were found when they searched the bay, even though, they could locate small objects on the sea, at the bottom of the seafloor. The defense questioned whether the investigation was thorough, since the Modesto police, crap. Why am I not picking up drills, people? Since the Modesto police detective Mike Haramos admitted that he did not check the alibi of a prostitute who was accused of stealing checks out of the Petersons' mailbox. Again, I'm trying to understand what that has to do with anything. Are they trying to say that she did it? And then take his boat and just use his boat? And okay. Um I I'm trying to understand that. Now, the prosecutor noted that the checks were stolen after Lacey vanished, precluding the woman from involvement in her disappearance. So basically, that kind of just, went out the window. Now, a police community service officer testified that an interview with Peterson had no sound due to no batteries being put in a tape recorder. Other detectives were called to testify about the evidence. And of course, the extensive search of the evidence. Then now the defense lawyers based their case on lack of evidence, direct evidence. They suggested that the fetal remains were a full-term infant and that theorized that someone had kidnapped Lacey. Okay, really? Seriously? Hello? That someone had kidnapped her and held her until the birth of the baby. And then dumped both bodies. Okay, number one, she was 7 months pregnant to start off with when she went missing. It wasn't that long after they found her. So I'm okay. Anyway, then they dumped the bodies in the bay. The medical experts contended that the baby was not full term. So basically, the defense kind of lost that right off the bat, and died at the same time as the mother. Um, Now, the evidence. Now, I know this is what I was trying to understand. There's evidence in all of this. Now, we're going to talk about that. Now, I know this is a little long, and I apologize. The evidence, there was a single hair that was found, and it matched through the DNA comparison that was stuck to a pair of pliers that was found on Scott's boat. Now, they presented the evidence during the trial. Peterson changed his appearance, purchased a vehicle using his mother's name in order to avoid recognition by the press. He added 2 pornographic television channels to his cable service only days after his wife's disappearance. Okay. The prosecution stated that this meant that he knew that she would not be returning home. Now, he also stated an interest in selling the house that he had shared with Lacey and traded her Land Rover for a Dodge pickup truck. So my question is, when did he trade the pickup truck or trade the um the Land Rover, which I don't understand. I'm totally confused. But anyway, so now it goes into all of this stuff about how there was a motive. Now, which I did not know. Of course, I kind of figured the motive was because he was in love with Amber, so forth and so on. They do find out that he does have financial problems and pending fatherhood, and they surmise that he killed her due to an increasing debt and desire to be single again. Okay, my thing is if you want to be single again, just file for divorce. I mean, that's the only thing I could come up with. File for a divorce. If you want to be single that bad and go around and have all, these relationships with all these women or whatever, file for a flipping divorce or move out. Get a separation. Then get a divorce. You don't have to go to the extremes of killing your wife and your child. Now he is found guilty. Of course, he's found guilty. He was convicted of the 2 counts of first-degree murder and with special circumstances for killing Lacey, second-degree murder for killing the fetus that she carried. The penalty phase of the trial began, and it concluded the 13th of December. They rendered a sentence of death and by lethal injection, ordering him to pay $10,000 toward the cost of Lacey's funeral. So and to this day, I think he's still, um, and to this day, now they're saying that, um, there are people, that are saying that she has been killed by a satanic cult, not by Scott. I mean, really? Where do they come up with these things? Um, so basically, he's not going to get out of jail. Just nothing to it. I mean, I'm sorry. Anybody that can do this to their child or to their child and their wife, and just instead of going out and getting a divorce, and I'm sorry. I will never understand. But anyway, as you guys know, there are a couple movies. There's a couple TV things about it. I'm not going to get into all of those. But anyway, that's it for today, guys. It went almost an hour. Goodness. Uh, but thank you for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed this. And again, I will see everybody next week. And everybody have a great week.